Alright guys, in today's video we have more PlayStation and Xbox news to go over and discuss. We have quite a bit to cover here today, so before we dive into it, do me a big favor and hit that like button to help this video out and show your support. And we are on our way to 100,000 subscribers here on the channel, so if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. We're starting here though with a very interesting leak regarding FromSoftware's next game, and how, if one rumor is to be believed, it's going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive that is a spiritual successor to Bloodborne, codenamed Velvet Veil. Now, I want to warn you right up front that there is very little here that should make you walk away believing this, but it sounds very exciting. It also sounds somewhat plausible, and a lot of you were asking me to talk about this, so I figured I would just share the information to let you know what's going on, and you can make of it what you will. So this is reading from Games Radar, and it says the rumor, as spotted by OP Attack, comes from Ron Carlos Silva on Twitter, who explains in Portuguese about a project in the works at FromSoftware codenamed Velvet Veil. According to this source, Velvet Veil is being created in collaboration with PlayStation Studios and planned as a PS5 exclusive. While it sounds like it won't directly tie in with any previous FromSoftware projects, it is considered a spiritual successor to Bloodborne. Silva then provided an image that shows a previous Reddit conversation with their apparent source, where the leaker discussed details about Elden Ring, a Dark Souls remaster, and Dualsense all before they were announced. Now here's where things get complicated. According to Reddit user E0, they are the one who shared the conversation, which Silva cites as proof of the leaker's previous accurate calls. But E0 did not post anything about Velvet Veil. They are not saying the rumors about Velvet Veil itself are false, just that they are not involved with them. But if the image that serves as the bedrock for why we should believe anything about this alleged Velvet Veil leak isn't actually related to this Velvet Veil leak, then the whole thing gets shaky very quickly. There's also a 4chan thread that was posted shortly before Silva's Twitter thread and shares many of the same details, but it doesn't say anything about those Reddit DMs. And it's rarely a good idea to just believe anything you read on 4chan. Ultimately, it looks like there's more reason to be dubious about this Velvet Veil leak than there is to believe it, at least for the time being. Now, I have to agree with what the article is saying here. It's letting us know that, look, regardless of whether or not this leak is true or not, we do all have Elden Ring to look forward to, which I 100% agree with. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Elden Ring is still not releasing until early next year, but you do have to kind of wonder what FromSoftware is going to do next. People have been waiting for a Bloodborne sequel of some sort for years now, and there has seemingly been nothing, right? But we do have a few things here that we have to highlight. The first being that there's really no actual source for this. Okay, that's the most important thing I want to point out. We just have an individual on Twitter saying it's a thing. The person who leaked all of this information about previous games or games that were not yet revealed, Elden Ring, Dark Souls Remaster, Dualsense, they were correct, but again, they didn't say anything about this Velvet Veil game. So we technically don't actually have a source for this leak, but it's starting to make the rounds, and it could just be wishful thinking. I mean, I will say it does sound plausible. It would make a lot of sense for Sony to want to pursue another PlayStation 5 exclusive with FromSoftware. It's been very successful for them in the past. You know, we know that Sony just remade Demon Souls and it was successful. They're apparently going to remaster Bloodborne, which will be interesting because that will prove, if that does turn out to be true, that they still have some interest in the IP, other than maybe just extracting as much out of it as they can. So at this point, I'm going to say walk away from this assuming it's not true, but maybe keeping an open mind, because you never know, right? You never know with this type of stuff. It could be real. It might not be. In fact, there's more reason to believe it's not, but still, I think it's just one of these things that we're going to be kind of keeping an open mind about and waiting to see if anything else comes of it. So if we get any more information on this, I will be sure to update you guys. But we're moving on from that, and we're talking about the PlayStation 5 System Software Beta program that was announced. So it says Microsoft has long had programs that let players beta test new features and updates coming to Xbox consoles, but typically Sony has taken a more of a surprise, here's an update approach, Well, it seems that's changing as Sony has announced a new PS5 System Software Beta program for the console's next big update, which will arrive sometime later this year. Sony has not revealed what this update will include, although they promise more details in the coming months. And so this is what they wrote about the PlayStation 5 beta program. Later this year, we are rolling out another major system update packed with new features, and we want your help testing them out. Starting today, you can register for an opportunity to join the first ever PS5 System Software Beta program. Registration is open to players over the age of 18 in the US, Canada, Japan, UK, Germany, and France. By signing up, you could be among the first to put new features to the test and provide essential feedback that will help guide their development. If you are selected to be part of the program, you'll receive an email with instructions on how to download the beta version of the next system software. In order to sign up, you'll need a PS5 console with an internet connection and a PlayStation Network account. You will also be added to the potential participant pool for future PS5 system software betas automatically without having to register again. After the beta begins, you can restore your system software to the latest official release version before the beta program ends. Now, this is a pretty significant thing because Sony is definitely changing their tune somewhat when it comes to how they want to handle their system software updates. And I actually think this is a very good thing because a lot of people are going to want to participate in this. And I don't think they're exaggerating when they say that you're going to provide essential feedback. Something tells me that this has a lot to do with the M2 drive inside of the PS5. We've been waiting to hear something about the SSD storage expansion, and we haven't heard anything. There have been rumors that it's taking longer than anticipated due to potential overheating or something like that. And so if that really is the case, we have no way of knowing that. Sony's definitely going to want to test it out before they make it public. I've also heard that some people are expecting them to add 1440p support and a bunch of other stuff that we have been patiently waiting to hear about. But I think that the SSD drive is definitely the biggest thing that people are waiting to hear about. And I just have this hunch that that's exactly why they're doing this. So, I'm sure we'll get more information once people actually start getting these beta updates, I guess, to test out. And I will be sure to update you guys when we have more info. So just wanted to let you guys know about this. Moving on from that, though, we're talking about 4A Games and Metro Exodus and how it fully utilizes the PS5. The Dualsense allows players to feel the difference between each weapon. Again, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Dualsense controller, and I've been playing Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and it utilizes it amazingly well. It really does add a whole new layer to a game, in my opinion, when it's done right. So I wanted to be sure to kind of highlight Metro Exodus here. So 4A Games has said that today's Metro Exodus PlayStation 5 upgrade will drastically improve the overall experience for players jumping in now. Over on the PlayStation blog, the studio said that it utilized every aspect of the PS5 hardware to enhance the game, including doubling the frame rate from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, bumping resolution up to 4K, overhauling the game engine for fully ray-traced lighting, using the SSD to significantly reduce load times, and using 3D audio to increase immersion. No PS5 game would be complete without DualSense support, of course, and Metro Exodus makes great use of the controller. The advanced haptic feedback gives each weapon a unique feel upon discharge, recoil, reload, or jam, wrote the developer. Players will even feel the subtle differences within the same weapon class as they adapt and customize on the fly using our in-the-field crafting and customization mechanics, adding a heavier stock to increase stability or a suppressor to reduce muzzle climb all change how the controller responds in the player's hands. As an example, the Tikhar and Helsing use adaptive triggers to increase pressure and resistance while priming and charging. Maintaining high air pressure in the tank is essential to preserve the Tikhar's lethality, and this has to be manually topped up by pumping the right trigger. As the pressure increases, so does the resistance on the trigger action, so players can feel when maximum pressure has been attained. Now, I know to a lot of people this may not sound like anything, like it just sounds like it's marketing, but if you actually listen to what they're saying and they're describing how the game utilizes the DualSense, this is pretty significant, right? Like, this is truly making you just feel like things that technically, I guess, you know, it mimics the feeling of what the character would be feeling when holding a weapon and when, you know, changing it up. And as it says, like adding more pressure and resistance, use the right trigger to pump. I just think this is all very cool. You know, it's just really cool to see that developers genuinely are on board with the Dualsense and what it's capable of. And they seem like they actually like adding this into their games, because I guess they understand, just like we do as the players, that it really does add something when it's done right. And I'm just, you know, again, I'm always interested to see what developers can do next. And it really sounds like the developers of Metro Exodus are trying to find some very unique and interesting ways to incorporate it. So I just wanted to be sure to let you guys know about that. But now we're talking once again about some interesting things that Sony's Hermen Hulst had to say about how they look at studio acquisitions. And I think this is definitely interesting, especially when you take into consideration that we just learned recently that Sony is hiring for an acquisitions and mergers director for their PlayStation business. So let's hear what Hermen Hulst has to say. PlayStation Studios boss Hermen Hulst has said that Sony prefers striking external partnerships for new IPs as opposed to going on a studio shopping spree in order to keep things fresh. Speaking to Eurogamer, Hulst said that PlayStation Studios is growing and the team is always on the lookout for incredible new experiences, regardless of the genre and size of studio. Sony's primary focus is on seeking talent and empowering developers to create without constraints by offering them the same services and facilities available to its own first-party studios. If I come across a core group of people that are building a new outfit that have gained incredible experience and matured as creatives, and then you take the shackles off, you give them a white sheet of paper, it's just fascinating to see what they're going to do with it, Hulst added. While Sony has only recently begun announcing a string of external partnerships, the company has been working with these partners behind the scenes for quite some time. That's the case with Deviation Games, at least, who revealed that it has been developing its new AAA PlayStation 5 game for over a year. New IP is amazing, Hulst continued. We're always looking to offer fresh, new experiences to the audience, to the PlayStation community. It's also an honor for me as the head of PlayStation Studios to find a group like Jason, Dave, and their team at Deviation to work with us. Sony previously said that Deviation's new game is still a little while out. So they've been working on it for over a year, but we're still obviously going to have to wait some time for it. But I find it interesting what Hermen Hulst is saying here, because I think that there is a lot of truth to it, and I think we're actually seeing that right in front of us, right? We are not seeing Sony go out here and buy studios, but I think Sony still, in the back of their mind, or at least Hermen's mind, or somebody there, right? Like, they are going to prepare for a moment or time where maybe they do have to start buying studios relatively quickly, depending on how the industry I mean, it's already consolidating, but, you know, we're seeing that consolidation of these studios. I think if that continues to escalate at the rate it has been, Sony's not really going to have much of a choice. Now, maybe they don't need to, right? Maybe what they have now is more than enough, but, you know, again, we do have to highlight that even though Hermen is saying this, and I think that their partnerships actually work out really great for them, and there's absolutely no reason for them to not continue doing what they're doing, but we do have to understand that PlayStation is looking for somebody to manage, you know, any potential acquisitions and maybe try to strike some deals in the future. So I did find this interesting. I think that Sony has many, many more partnerships that we currently don't know about, but we're going to learn about over the next year, year and a half. So be on the lookout for that. Moving right along here, though, we're talking about something interesting that popped up that a lot of people were feeling a little bit nervous about, and that is Demon's Souls Remake. The PlayStation 4 database was found recently, and we have some clarification on what is going on with this, because people are now wondering, is Demon's Souls, a PlayStation 5 exclusive, the remake, going to be ported to PS4? And it says the recently discovered Demon's Souls Remake PlayStation 4 database entry is 4 years old, and it probably doesn't suggest a previous gen release of the game developed by Bluepoint Games. Speaking on Twitter, well-known data miner Lance McDonald commented on the database entry, revealing that it's actually 4 years old. The database entry is over 4 years old, and whoever scrapped it managed to somehow do it without obtaining even a single piece of metadata to verify any aspect of it, so I don't think it's worth even acknowledging personally. Additionally, it seems like this Demon's Souls database entry is not related to the remake by Bluepoint at all, as Lance McDonald thinks it is a PS Now database entry for the initial port of the PS3 version of Demon's Souls that was used for testing purposes. It's very likely a PS Now entry for the internal port of Demon's Souls PS3 for PS4 that was created during the early stages of Remake for the purpose of remote QA. Sony often does this. These builds are never intended for release. So, you know, I thought this was worth at least just taking a moment here to cover, because again, a lot of people were asking me about this. What do I think about the potential of Demon's Souls, you know, being released on PS4? I mean, I have no doubt that this game could be scaled down to run on PS4 if Sony wanted to make that happen. And who knows, they might. We really don't know for sure. But based off of what we currently know, it seems highly unlikely that that's what's happening. So I would just kind of not worry about this at all and not even pay attention to it. And if it does happen, we'll just have to wait for official confirmation. But right now, it seems like Demon's Souls Remake is still going to remain a PS5 exclusive. But now we're talking about something interesting that I don't think is very important, but again, I'm pretty sure not many people knew about this, or not many people really thought about this. And that is the fact that apparently Xbox reportedly had to trust Sony with pre-release Xbox Series consoles for the development of MLB The Show 21. And so this was revealed in an interview with Axios by Microsoft's Sarah Bond, and she's the one who talked about this and let us know that, yeah, Microsoft had to give Xbox Series consoles, pre-release consoles, to Sony and to one of Sony's studios, and they had to trust them with this. So it says, describing sending the consoles, Sarah Bond said that it was a real sign of industry trust. A few years ago, MLB signed a deal to bring the show to more platforms, and it just so happened that this was the year the game came to Xbox. And so again, I think this is something that not many people really put much thought into, where it's like, oh, wait a second, yeah, in order for them to get this game running on the Xbox Series consoles, they would have needed Xbox Series dev kits. So it seems that Sony knew exactly what was going on with the Xbox Series consoles well before they ended up releasing, and you just have to wonder if that had any impact at all on what they decided to do with the PS5. It is, again, not something that's really that relevant right now, but still something that's interesting to think about and point out. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. But we're talking here once again about Bethesda, and this is something that, I mean, I find it kind of funny, but, you know, the reactions that, so just want to let you guys know about that. But we're going to close out this video talking about PlayStation VR. And Bloomberg is apparently reporting that Sony is aiming to launch their second version of PlayStation VR in late 2022, and they're going to be using Samsung OLED panels. Now, to me, this isn't really that shocking. It's not that surprising. The idea that Sony wants to try to have this out late 2022 kind of lines up with the way they've been marketing it so far. They've revealed the controllers for the VR headset. They've talked about the actual specs of the VR headset. We just haven't seen the headset itself yet. And, you know, you think about them letting us know all of this information when they did. They're talking about how they're getting ready to begin work, or they've already, you know, started working on their next-gen VR gaming experiences. I think this lines up perfectly, so I wouldn't be surprised if it were to get delayed, but, you know, a late 2022 launch sounds very in line with, I think, everybody's expectations. So there's not really too much to talk about here other than that. So if you are looking forward to the next version of PlayStation VR, which I certainly am, then we can maybe look forward to it next holiday season. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I hope you did enjoy the video. I hope you did find it informative. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you have to say. Again, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.